So the next 5 or 6 videos are going to be with regards to servicing for the pinzgauer. We're going to start into the air filter first of all, how to do that replacement. But before we start that, I'm going to remove a lot of the stuff I've only just put in. So a lot of the radio gear and things like that I've put in. The weather in Scotland at this time of year, so we're in early January, is very damp and very cold, which is not good for electricals in the long term. So we're going to pull a lot of that out. It's all very easily fitted for quick removal. The army have thought about all that kind of stuff. So we're going to get to that first of all, and then we'll get stripped down to the point where we can do an air filter. Nothing particularly is easily to get to in the pinzgauer, so we'll go through all that process. So now that we've got the radio equipment out, we're going to do the air filter, and just because it's easier, and so the camera can see better, we're going to take this seat out, and that's going to allow us to the air filter, which is behind the driver's seat. So that's a 17mm socket at the front. Two of those bolts. And then we're going to slide the seat all the way forward. That's two 17s at the back as well. So that's the seat all unbolted. I'm going to flip that over onto the driver's seat, I think. Sorry, onto the passenger seat. I'm parked a bit close to the wall. And I'm going to take that out of the passenger side just now. And there we have it. Right, so back here we can see I've got this cable coming through the floor, which goes to the radio equipment. It's been pulled through the floor at some point, so I'm going to need to fix that. That's in my plan of things. Next thing we're going to take out is the rifle mount here, which is two little thumb screws. You unscrew so that you can get to things easily. And this is also the mount for the jack in this vehicle. So the butt of the rifle goes in there and then through that guard, and then that is where the jack gets strapped into. So we'll take that out of the way. There we are. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're looking at all our pipes and stuff as we're doing things. I can see that I've got quite a few splits in this air intake pipe. On this side of the air filter it's not too much of a problem, but I'm probably going to replace it anyway, because I'd rather have things nice and neat. So the next thing, we turn those to open. Alright, and out here, put a wiggle in, and we get our air filter cover out. And we can see our main air intake here, which is quite brittle. So I think we're definitely going to have to look at how that's all connected. And then our main air plenum. Right. I'm going to undo these two latches. They're quite explosive. Yeah, so they're quite tightly fitted. And we need to have a look at how that's connected on top of there. I think it's going to be easier now to have a look at opening this whole engine cover up. So I'll set that insulation out of the way. This side panel here, this is access to the right hand side of the engine. We'll take this panel out. We'll see what we've got in here. Insulation on there and stuff. I'll get this out of the way. And then I think we're going to have to take the top panel off of the engine as well. Let's have a look at how that's done again. We've got a latch at the front, which we undo. We've got an earth strap at the back, and I'll need to move all the tools. I always make sure I put bolts back in where they came out of. That saves losing them and having to replace them and things like that. If we are replacing them, then we know where they've got to go back into. So that's the 4 seat bolts back into where they belonged. And I undo this earth strap in the back corner of this plate here. There we go, I'll get this one out of the way. In here, and then we can get this air filter box out, make sure it's clean. The hose from the air filter box to the engine looks brand new rubber, which I'd expect because it's a very new reconditioned engine, so that's all good in there. There's a few things we're going to have to do in here soon, so I think we're going to have a look at how all this comes apart even further than I did in my earlier video, which there's a link to in the corner. So we'll get this airbox out with a flat-headed screwdriver. It's a very tight fitting down in here. I'll take a photograph so you can see. Right, so that's undone. From there, we can get our air filter box out of. What we'll do is we'll take this, we'll set it on the bench and we'll have a look in, and we'll see how it's all going together. Make sure it's clean inside. Make sure there's no leaves or anything being sucked in, which can be the case with a lot of air intakes. And we'll look at how bad this pipe is, which looks fairly terrible. So we'll get that done. So this is our air intake in and on the bench. This is our engine supply. This is our air intake from outside. So it gets sucked in here, sucked through the filter that's inside the cartridge, and then into the engine there. We've got a drain on this side in case there's some water gets in there. That drain should be pointing down the way, so it's not been quite fitted right, I think. But we'll have a look at that. This pipe, it's in the vehicle pretty much that way up. So the air intake's on the bottom. So we'll have a look at how that does in just a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo this screw in the center here, and that should take this end cap off. Yep, so quick knit, and that's now coming out nicely. Get this unscrewed. Okay, so we've got the end there. That's held in with a nut as well. So we'll get that nut out. What we'll do is, I'll just get the new filter. This is our new filter here. And we check C15165-3. Yep, so we've got the same filter. So that's good. And we'll get that swapped over. And what I'll do is I'll write on the end when it was last changed, so today's date, so that I've got an idea of when the next service will be. That's very rare that it's been done in the army and that hasn't been done on the end of that. So I'm surprised at that, but we'll do that with our system going forward. So that's a 13mm on the end of the air filter. We'll just rattle that quickly off. Right, there we are. Last few turns of the nut. We've got a washer on there. And then our air filter cartridge comes straight out. It all looks fairly decent. There's a few flakes of nastiness about, but it's always worth fixing. We'll look inside. We've got some dust and things in there. A bit of surface rust, but nothing I'm too worried about. What we'll do is we'll give that a good dust out before we put the new cartridge in. Right, we'll open up this new air filter. See what comes in the box with it. Exactly the same as the other one that I've just taken out. I wanted to see if there was in the inside of here, there's a plastic insert that breaks up the air that's being sucked in, and creates a bit of a tornado effect. So this has had a good old wipe out. Any dust that was in it's been removed. There was no particles or anything like that. I mean, I've seen full bits of twig and leaves and things in other vehicles previously. but none of that in this one. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put in the new air filter. I don't have a wing nut at the minute, so I'm going to replace the nylock that was on it, and I'll keep a mental note that I need to do that wing nut next time. Okay, so new filter. Going straight in there like that, with the washer on top and the old nut. There we go, and we'll tighten that up, and I'll find a pen to write the date on. So with a second thought, I've just figured out that we can't put a wing nut on here, or this lid won't refit where it's supposed to. We won't be doing that little fix. I've been and got a Sharpie, and I'm just going to write today's date on there, which is the 9th of January. Okay, so I know when that was replaced, and we'll put a lid back on. It'd be good to go back on the vehicle, but this hose from here to the inlet on the side, that's going to need replaced. So the next job we're going to do is remove that so that I can get a replacement hose. So we're going to remove this hose now, just so that we've got one without leaks. This end's all chewed up as well, so we're going to look at how it's all connected up, and get that out of here, and get that replaced. It's a little bit dark in here today. Let's look at how this is all fitted in. It looks like it's been bodged with a few pieces of foam in the past. Well, that's well and truly snapped it off. So there we are. I think that'll be for a bit of soundproofing, because that's going to be right behind the driver's ear. So we'll have to replace that in some sense. It could be a candidate for some army roll mat or something like that. And then that hose should have been attached on there, but that's, like I say, it's really brittle. And I'll need to take that piece to my local motor factors and get a piece of that air tubing, so that we can replace that all up. So one final little bit of advice for just now: if you take anything off a vehicle, always do a little sign to remind yourself not to start it. Obviously no air filter means that if we started it, it could suck in debris into the engine, and we don't want that. And no matter how often you do things, you'll occasionally forget that needs to get done. So it's always best to leave yourself a note, like I've done here, and that means the next time I jump in here, I know that I just don't rattle the key in the ignition and try and start it.